It is 6:42 in the morning when your phone buzzes on the kitchen counter. You are pouring coffee, half awake, listening to the low hum of the refrigerator and the faint traffic outside. The sky through the window is still grey-blue, the kind of ordinary weekday light you barely notice. You glance at the screen, expecting a calendar reminder or a news notification. Instead, you see an emergency alert in all caps. The tone is shrill, longer than a weather warning. Your brain tries to file it under test or glitch. It isn't. The message mentions national emergency, possible nuclear strike, shelter, immediately. Your first instinct is not to shelter. It is to grab your phone and call people, your spouse, your parents, your kids. Your hand is already reaching for the phone icon when another sound cuts through the room. Distant sirens starting up, not just one, but many overlapping. In the few seconds it takes you to process the words on the screen, social media is lighting up. Group chats explode. Someone texts, "I'm going to get the kids." Another says, "We should drive out of the city." This is the first fork in the road. You are standing in a kitchen with a mug of coffee, a phone in your hand, and a decision to make. What you do in the next 5 minutes will matter more than all the panicked messages you will want to send. In the first 5 minutes after the alert, your body wants to move in the wrong direction. The instinct is powerful. Run to the car, drive toward the people you love, get everyone together. This is what families do. This is what feels right. It is also the first thing most families do wrong. You stand in the kitchen, phone still in hand, sirens layering over each other outside. The coffee mug sits on the counter, steam rising into air that suddenly feels different. Your pulse is fast. Your thoughts are faster. Call them. Go get them. Find them. You name the panic. You say it internally, like a label on a box. This is fear. This is the urge to reunite. And then you override it with a single command: shelter first. Instead of reaching for your keys, you put the phone down and step away from the window. Glass is dangerous now. Exterior walls are dangerous. Anything that can shatter or collapse is a threat you can avoid by simply moving inward. Civil defense protocol is clear. If you are not at ground zero, your first protection is distance from windows, exterior walls, and falling debris. The building you are in is your armor. You do not need to find shelter. You need to use the shelter you already have. You move toward the hallway. The coffee mug stays on the counter. You have not called anyone yet? That feels wrong. But stepping away from the glass is the first correct decision. By the 10th minute, the urge to do something is loud. Your hands want to be busy. Your mind wants a plan that involves motion, progress, visible action. Sitting still feels like surrender. You move through your home with purpose, but not toward the door. You are scanning interior rooms, no windows, walls shared with other rooms, not with the outside, a bathroom in the center of the building, a hallway closet, a basement corner if you have one. You choose the bathroom. It has no windows, thick walls on 3 sides, and a door you can seal. You drag the hallway runner rug inside and lay it against the base of the door. You pull the mattress off the bed in the next room. It takes effort, and the effort is good. It keeps you from freezing. And prop it against the exterior-facing wall. You speak out loud as you work. This room, this corner, block the outside wall. The sound of your own voice cuts through the noise in your head. It is not confidence. It is procedure. Procedure keeps you moving. Civil defense principle. Fallout and shock waves lose force with mass and distance. Every wall, every dense object between you and the outside reduces your exposure. You are not building a bunker, you are buying time. The sirens are muffled now, the light is dimmer, The carpet is rough under your knees. You still have not checked the news feed. You choose not to yet. The room you build now may be the difference between surviving the next hour or not. Within the first 30 minutes, everyone wants to move, to gather. You can hear it in the texts that keep buzzing through. I'm going to get the kids. Meet me at Mum's. Let's drive to the cabin. You stay inside your chosen room. You use your phone deliberately, one brief text to each key person. The message is the same every time. Sheltering inside, get to an interior room, stack heavy things against outside walls, don't drive, stay put, I love you. Then you set the phone face down and conserve battery. The psychological discipline is harder than the physical work. You cannot protect everyone right now. You cannot be in 3 places at once. You cannot reach your children's school, your parents' house, your partner's office. The fantasy of reunion is powerful, but it is a fantasy that gets people killed. Civil defense data is consistent. Roads clog within minutes of a major alert. Emergency services become overwhelmed, moving toward likely targets. City centers, highways, evacuation routes dramatically increases exposure risk. Staying put in a decent interior shelter is safer than being caught in a vehicle when the flash comes, or when fallout begins to settle. Outside you hear car doors, raised voices, someone starting an engine. You do not follow. It feels like inaction. It feels like abandonment, but choosing not to leave is an action. You have just refused the most common, most dangerous first mistake. Help with information, not motion. That is the rule now. By the end of the first hour, you must assume that impact has either happened or is imminent. You do not know which. You may never know. What you know is this: you are inside, you are sealed, and you are still working. You seal gaps under the door with wet towels. The bathroom has a ventilation fan. You cover it with a plastic bag and tape. You pull the shower curtain down and drape it over the doorframe, adding another layer between you and the hallway. You bring in supplies from the kitchen, moving quickly, staying low, avoiding windows. Water bottles, crackers, a jar of peanut butter, the medications from the cabinet, the battery-powered radio your spouse bought 3 years ago and you never used. You arrange them in the corner of the bathroom, away from the door. You check your breathing. It is fast. Too fast. Breathing pattern: 3 counts in, 4 counts out. You repeat it while you work. Your hands stop shaking after the 3rd cycle. Civil defense principle: fallout arrives minutes to hours after a detonation, depending on distance and wind. The goal is to have your shelter as sealed as practical before dust-laden air begins to circulate. Perfect sealing is impossible in an ordinary home. Reduction is the goal. Every gap you close matters. You check the time on your phone, 7:48 a.m. You place it face down deliberately. Time checking will become a compulsion if you let it. The room is imperfect, but it is better than it was an hour ago. You have turned a bathroom into a basic shelter before fallout arrives. By 90 minutes after the alert, rumor is spreading faster than official information. Your phone keeps buzzing with forwarded messages, screenshots of unverified claims, panicked speculation. Someone says Chicago, someone says DC, someone says it was a false alarm, someone says it was real. You turn on the battery-powered radio and search slowly through the dial for official channels. The static hisses and crackles. You find a station, an emergency broadcast, mechanical voice repeating instructions: shelter in place, remain indoors, await further guidance. Not much information, enough to confirm that you should stay where you are. You set a rule: 5 minutes of radio every 30 minutes. Then the volume goes low or off. Too much noise feeds panic, not decisions. You need only 3 things from information right now: whether more attacks are expected, whether sheltering is still recommended, and whether your area is under fallout risk. The names of cities matter less than those 3 points. The hiss of static fills the small bathroom. Your throat is dry. You take a small sip of water, just enough to wet your mouth, not enough to drain the bottle. The overhead light flickers once, then steadies. You do not know if the power will last. You find the flashlight in the supply pile and set it within reach. You may not know which city was hit or how many. You may not know for hours. What you know is enough. Stay inside, stay sealed, stay calm. That is sufficient for this hour. By the 3rd hour, adrenaline begins to fade. What replaces it is not calm. It is a heavy, dull fatigue mixed with second-guessing. Did you seal the door well enough? Should you have grabbed more water? Is your family safe? Are they doing what you told them? You cannot answer those questions. You can only manage the space you control. You arrange your supplies methodically. Water bottles on one side of the toilet, food on the other. You line a corner with plastic bags for waste. You will need a bathroom within your bathroom eventually. You mark one water bottle with a pen. Day 1. You remind yourself not to finish it all at once. Civil defense guidance recommends staying sheltered for at least 24 hours, ideally 48, because fallout radiation drops rapidly in the first day. The highest danger is in the first hours. Rationing from the beginning helps you last through the worst window. You create a micro-schedule on a scrap of paper. Radio check, small sip of water, stretch your legs, sit quietly, repeat. Routine gives shape to fear. Without it, hours become formless, and formless time breeds panic. Your hand rests on the door handle. The metal is cool. For a moment you want to open it, just to see, just to check. The urge is almost physical. You step back. Not yet. The room feels smaller now. Time feels slower. But you have a plan written on paper instead of a vague sense of dread. That is progress. By late afternoon, maybe 6 or 8 hours in, the outside world tries to pull you back. You hear footsteps in the hallway. A door opens and closes somewhere in the building. Voices. Muffled. Urgent. Someone is calling a name. It might be yours. Someone knocks on a door nearby, maybe your own. You answer through the closed door briefly. I'm sheltering. You should too. Get to an interior room. Block the walls. Don't go outside. You keep your voice calm. You do not open the door. The knocking stops. The footsteps move away. This is the hardest test so far. Not the fear of radiation, where you cannot see radiation, cannot feel it yet. The hardest part is the guilt. Someone needed help. Someone called your name. You did not open the door. You sit back down in your corner and acknowledge the feeling. Guilt, it is real, it is valid, and it does not change the math. Civil defense principle, each time you open your shelter, you increase your exposure. If fallout has begun to settle, even brief contact with outside air means inhaling particles. If you become sick, you help no one. If you stay sealed, you stay capable. Internal words, I cannot save everyone. I can stay alive. You hear a car start outside. Someone is leaving. You do not follow. The ache of not rushing to everyone who calls your name. That ache is part of survival. You endure it because enduring it keeps you here. By the time night comes, perhaps 12 hours in, your mind becomes your main battlefield. The bathroom is dark now. You turned off the overhead light hours ago to conserve whatever power remains. The flashlight sits beside you, switched off, saving batteries. The only illumination comes from the faint glow of your phone screen when you check the time, which you do less often now, deliberately. The darkness thickens, the air feels stiller, heavier. Every creak in the building sounds amplified. A pipe settles somewhere. A door closes on another floor. You cannot tell if those sounds mean people moving safely or people making mistakes. You organize sleeping arrangements on the bathroom floor. The mattress you dragged in earlier becomes your bed, positioned as far from exterior walls as possible. You pull a blanket from the hallway closet during one brief, controlled door opening, then reseal immediately. Lying low matters. Civil Defense guidance notes that staying below window level reduces exposure to any residual external radiation. The floor is uncomfortable. The floor is also safer. You expect intrusive thoughts. They come. Images of cities burning, of people you love, caught in the open, of everything you should have done differently. When they arrive, you do not fight them. You acknowledge them and redirect. The feel of the blanket, the sound of your breathing, the rhythm of your heartbeat, still steady, still here. Self-talk. Right now, I am in this room. Right now, I am still alive. The night feels endless. But each hour that passes without you breaking your shelter is another hour the radiation outside is quietly declining. Sometime around midnight or the early hours, the silence feels heavier than any siren. The radio gave its last update 2 hours ago. Continue sheltering, await further instructions. Since then, static. You turned it off to save battery. Now the bathroom is quiet in a way that makes your ears strain for any sound at all. You want to open the door, just a crack, just to see if the hallway looks normal, just to breathe air that has not been recycled through your lungs for half a day. You do not. Instead, you inspect your shelter. You run your fingers along the base of the door, checking for gaps. The towels have shifted slightly. You press them back into place. You adjust the blanket over the ventilation fan. You check the tape seals, small actions, controlled actions. Civil defense principle. Fallout intensity drops rapidly over time, following what scientists call the 7-10 rule. For every 7-fold increase in time, after detonation, radiation drops by a factor of 10. But the first hours after fallout arrives are the most dangerous. This is the worst possible time to satisfy curiosity. You hear something outside, maybe distant helicopters, maybe nothing at all. The quiet can feel like denial, like the emergency was imagined, like you are hiding from nothing. You hold the line anyway. Short internal commands. Wait, hold, not yet. You may never see the exact cloud or know the exact target. You are choosing not to trade your future health for a momentary look out of a window. That is discipline. That is survival. By the second half of the night, your body starts complaining loudly. Your back aches from lying on the bathroom floor. Your joints are stiff. The air feels stale, thick with your own breath. You need to use your improvised toilet, at the corner lined with plastic bags. And the process is awkward, undignified, human. You stretch gently, rotate your shoulders, flex your ankles, move your legs to keep blood flowing. The movements are small, constrained by the space, but they help. You lie back down. Civil defense guidance acknowledges that perfect sealing is impossible in ordinary homes. Short, controlled ventilation breaks are permissible, if necessary, to prevent overheating or severe stuffiness. You plan 1. Open the door for 60 seconds, no more, then reseal. You count to 60 while the door is cracked. The hallway air smells different, cooler, with a faint dust quality you do not remember from before. You close the door, press the towels back, check your watch. 3:47 a.m. You mark a small check on your paper schedule. 1 cycle complete. Ventilate, reseal, stretch, rest. Another check to add when you finish the next cycle. Routine becomes its own reassurance. Your world has shrunk to a few square feet, a water bottle, a radio, and a paper with check marks. Within that small world, you are actually gaining skill at surviving. Discomfort is evidence that you are still here, still making choices. Reframe it, own it, as the first light of the next morning creeps in around the edges of your shelter. You face a new danger, premature relief. A faint grey line appears at the bottom of the door. Dawn light filtering through the hallway from some window you cannot see. The streets outside sound quieter than yesterday. No sirens, no car engine starting. Somewhere a bird is singing, or you imagine it is. The craving for fresh air and normalcy is powerful. You want to swing the door open, walk to the window, look outside, and see that everything is fine. You want the emergency to be over. You do not open the door. Instead, you turn on the radio and search slowly through the dial. Static, more static. Then a voice, clearer than yesterday, an official tone. The message is cautious. Continue sheltering where possible. Radiation levels still being assessed. Further updates within hours. Civil Defense Principle, initial guidance in nuclear incidents, often recommends remaining sheltered for at least 24 hours. Visual calm outside does not equal safety. You cannot see radiation. Only instruments and official assessments can indicate when exposure levels have dropped enough for limited movement. You rest your hand on the door handle. The metal is warmer now, touched by the day's first heat. You deliberately let go. This gesture feels different than before. Yesterday, it felt like denial. Today, it feels like strength. You have done the hardest part, staying put when every instinct screamed otherwise. Now you match your patience to the real pace of the hazard. Around the 24-hour mark, the radio finally delivers what you have been waiting for. Limited movement is now permitted in your area. Stay indoors when possible. Avoid unnecessary travel. If you must move through the building, cover your mouth and nose. Do not go outside unless absolutely necessary. Aid stations are being established. Decontamination procedures will be announced. You open your shelter door slowly, staying low, staying cautious. The hallway looks the same as yesterday. Same carpet, same doors, same fluorescent light fixtures, one of them flickering now in a rhythm it did not have before. But the air smells different. There is a faint metallic tang, or you imagine there is. Your senses are heightened after 24 hours of controlled stillness. You cover your mouth and nose with a cloth and move through the apartment to check on your space. Windows intact, no visible damage, dust on the sills, fine and grey, different from normal household dust. You do not touch it. You close the curtains you had left open yesterday morning, a lifetime ago, using the fabric rather than your bare hands. The kitchen looks strange in daylight. The coffee mug sits exactly where you left it, cold and forgotten, a perfect artifact of the moment before everything changed. The emergency alert is still on your phone screen, though the phone itself is nearly dead now. You plug it in, hoping the power holds. You knock on your neighbor's door, speaking through the wood. "Are you okay? Sheltering?" A muffled voice answers. Tired, uncertain, but alive. They are inside. They stayed. You share the radio update through the door. Limited movement, stay indoors, aid stations coming. You do not enter their apartment. They do not enter yours. You check the other doors on your floor. Some answer, some do not. You do not force anything. You do not investigate further. The building is quiet in a way that could mean many things. You do not go outside. You do not try to drive across town to find your family. The urge is still there. It has been there for 24 hours, a constant pressure against your ribs. But you have learned to manage it. Your family received your texts. You have to trust they followed the same instructions. You have to trust that sheltering saved them too. Internal reminder. Step 1, assess this building. Step 2, listen again. Bigger steps come later. Civil defense principle. Even after the most dangerous initial period has passed, residual contamination can linger on outdoor surfaces, on cars, on pavement, on clothing left outside. Fallout particles settle like invisible snow, accumulating in places you cannot see. Limiting exposure still matters. Washing hands after touching anything from outside matters. Removing shoes at the door matters. The crisis is not over. It has simply entered a new phase that requires different rules. You return to your bathroom shelter. The door stays open now, letting air circulate through the apartment, but the supplies stay organized. The water bottles stand in their row, the marked one nearly empty, the others waiting. The radio sits on the counter, volume low, still searching for updates. Reconnect carefully, not impulsively. That is the rule for today. During that first full day after, as more information trickles through the radio, you begin to understand what you did right and what most people did wrong. You hear testimonies, fragmented and second-hand, passed through official broadcasts and neighbor conversations and the slowly returning cell network. Families caught in cars on evacuation routes, stuck in traffic when the flash occurred or when the fallout began to settle. Parents who left shelter to drive to schools and never made it back, their cars abandoned on highways that became parking lots. People standing at windows when the shockwave arrived, cut by glass that turned into shrapnel. Neighbors who unsealed their doors in the first hours to help others, and inhaled particles when radiation levels were highest, trading compassion for exposure they could not undo. The pattern is consistent across every account. The first mistake was movement. Families who stayed put survived at higher rates than families who tried to evacuate. The second mistake was exposure. People who stood near windows, who opened doors repeatedly, who went outside to investigate. They absorbed doses that will matter for years. The third mistake was impatience. Those who broke shelter too early, who trusted the visual quiet of empty streets, who assumed that silence meant safety, they emerged into fallout that was still settling, still dangerous. You sit in your bathroom, door open now, air circulating gently, but supplies still arranged in their careful rows, and you write down what worked, not for a report, not for anyone else, but for yourself, for the record of what you did when it mattered. Your shelter location, interior room, no windows, walls on 3 sides, shared with other interior spaces, mass between you and the outside, distance from glass, your routines, radio checks on a schedule you set and maintained, water rationed by bottles marked with the date, ventilation controlled and timed to brief intervals, breathing exercises when panic surged, your rules: shelter first, always shelter first. Communicate from where you are, not by traveling. Help with information, not motion. Movement only when official guidance permits, and even then, cautiously. You let yourself feel grief for a moment. It comes like a wave. Sadness for the world that existed yesterday morning, for the people who did not make it, for the uncertainty that stretches ahead, then anger, then relief, complicated and guilty that you are still here. The feelings come in waves, small and contained. You do not drown in them. You do not spiral into what-ifs. What if you had left earlier? What if you had gone for the kids? What if you had done everything differently? That path leads nowhere useful. You extract lessons instead. Civil defense research confirms what you experienced in miniature. The first thing families do wrong in a nuclear emergency is turning a shelter-in-place crisis into a transportation crisis. They try to reunite physically instead of surviving where they are. The instinct is powerful, evolutionary, parental, human, and it is wrong. Staying separated and alive is better than reuniting and dying together on a highway. You did the opposite of what instinct demanded. You stayed, you sealed, you waited. The same kitchen where you were pouring coffee 24 hours ago now has tape over the window edges where you sealed the gaps with plastic sheeting. A checklist hangs on the refrigerator. the micro-schedule you created, check marks running down the page. A water bottle sits on the counter with a date written in pen, nearly empty now, evidence of rationing that worked. The coffee mug still sits where you left it, cold and forgotten. You pick it up, wash it slowly, watching the water run over the ceramic. You set it back on the shelf in its usual place, a small act of normalcy in a world that is no longer normal. Outside, the world has changed in ways you do not fully understand yet. The sirens have stopped. The radio speaks of aid stations, decontamination zones, areas to avoid for weeks or months. There will be more decisions ahead: when to leave the building, how to find your family, where to go if this area is no longer safe, what to do if the power fails, how to get food when supplies run low. But you survived the first 24 hours. That is not nothing, that is everything. You survived because you chose discipline over motion, information over panic, shelter over reunion, small actions over grand gestures. You look at the door handle one more time. For 24 hours, touching it meant temptation. The urge to break your own rules, to step outside, to trade safety for the illusion of certainty. Every time you reached for it, you were reaching for the wrong decision, and every time you let go, you were choosing survival. Now it means something else. It means you held the line. You made small choices over and over when large choices were impossible. You turned an ordinary bathroom into a survival space, an ordinary morning into a crisis response, an ordinary person into someone who could endure. The quiet, unglamorous discipline of staying sealed, staying calm, staying inside, that is what kept you alive. Not heroism, not luck, not special equipment or training, just the willingness to do the boring, uncomfortable, counterintuitive thing for 24 hours straight. The grey light through the curtains is ordinary daylight now. The radio plays low in the background, still updating, still cautious. Somewhere out there, your family is waiting. Sheltered, you hope, following the same rules, surviving the same way. You will find them when it is safe. You will rebuild when it is possible. You will grieve what was lost and learn what comes next. But for now, you are alive. You are here. You made it through the first day, and that quiet, unglamorous discipline is what will carry you into whatever comes after.